Prima del TG inglese rivediamo insieme le principali notizie che stiamo seguendo. Iniziato il Forum economico 2026 a Davos in Svizzera tra dazi, accordi globali e l'impatto sulle scelte dell'Europa e dell'Italia. Atteso Trump che torna a chiedere la Groenlandia, von der Leyen, accordi vanno rispettati, la nostra risposta sarà inflessibile, unita e proporzionale. Intanto le borse europee di nuovo a picco. Domani e dopodomani a Roma la Camera ardente per Valentino, l'imperatore della moda, morto ieri nella capitale venerdì. Funerali alle 11 nella Basilica di Santa Maria degli Angeli e dei Martiri. Giancarlo Giammetti, compagno di una vita, a RaiNews ha detto: sono commosso da tanto amore per lui. In Spagna 3 giorni di lutto nazionale per la strage ferroviaria in Andalusia, il bilancio ancora provvisorio parla di 41 vittime, una trentina ancora i dispersi. Il treno deragliato viaggiava regolarmente a 200 km all'ora, causa probabile del disastro un giunto dei binari saltato. Il maltempo sta sferzando il sud Italia, in Calabria è crollata una parte di lungomare, in Sicilia si è aperta una voragine su una strada nel Messinese, un'ambulanza che stava prestando soccorso ad un automobilista ferito è stata investita da un'onda anomala. Infine in Sardegna, strade allagate sul litorale di Cagliari, crollato un pontile a Marina Piccola e la mareggiata ha sommerso la spiaggia del Poetto. Queste le principali notizie, ora è il momento del telegiornale in lingua inglese.
Welcome everybody, this is News in English. Valentino, myth of international fashion, died yesterday in his villa on the ancient Appian Way in Rome. Known the world over for his haute couture creations, for his iconic color, Valentino Red, for his timeless elegance that dressed stars and international icons from Jackie Kennedy to Julia Roberts. The funeral will take place in Rome this coming Friday. A chapel of rest has been set up at Palazzo Mignanelli near the Spanish Steps, historical seat of the fashion house. More coming up now in Laura Longo's review. Surrounded by flashes backstage after a fashion show, the kiss given to the most feared star of the fashion press, the courtesy towards his assistant, and in the background the unmistakable presence of Giancarlo Giammetti watching him with affection. In this cameo from The Devil Wears Prada, there is so much of Valentino Garavani, the gentle manners, the soft, almost musical voice, the need for reassurance about his work, paired with the certainty of being praised because he knew every one of his collections was a distillation of style and elegance. It was 2006 and nothing on the big screen yet hinted at what would happen just a year later, when Valentino would say goodbye to the world of fashion. A painful farewell, later entrusted to the documentary Valentino the Last Emperor, directed by a journalist from Vanity Fair who managed to capture his quirks, whims, and irony through fragments of real life in the atelier with seamstresses and models, amid the luxury of his residences and between yachts and private jets. Always had his feet, his beloved pugs, the tenderness of the relationship with Giammetti, and the pain hidden with pride that marked his final months as a designer, a bitterness he transformed into spectacle, celebrating his departure from fashion as only an emperor could. I would like to have a museum created that teaches young designers what it truly means to make fashion. Italy loses a legend, an indisputed master of elegance, and an eternal symbol of Italian high fashion, said Prime Minister Meloni in her tribute. In his message, President of the Republic Sergio Mattarella instead wrote, with the passing of Valentino, Italy loses a successful designer capable of looking beyond trends and conventions. The fashion world owes him great insight and magnificent creations. And we are deeply moved by the outpouring of love that everyone has shown for Valentino, said Giancarlo Giammetti, the greatest designer's long business partner and companion, speaking to reporters outside Palazzo Mignanelli in Rome. Let's listen now to the thoughts he shared on the legacy Valentino leaves behind in the world of women's fashion. From a creative standpoint, Valentino taught the world to respect women. never to make them look ridiculous with clothes that did not suit them or that turned them into characters or disguises. On top of that, beyond fashion, he also showed how to live an important, extraordinary life while never losing dignity. After he stepped away from the runway, Valentino returned to Paris in 2003, the city where he had learned how to become a great designer. The ownership of the Valentino Group, which in the past had already passed through foreign hands, first in the UK and then the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Qatar, is now French. Luxury giant Kering has acquired 30% stake, but there's an option written into the contract to take full ownership, 100%, by 2028. And now back to Italy, where a powerful wave of severe weather is hitting Calabria, Sardinia, and the eastern part of Sicily. In eastern Sicily alone, at least 190 people have been forced to leave their homes for safety reasons. In Aci Castello, province of Catania, our correspondent Antonella Guerreri reports now.
The situation continues to worsen. The sea has grown even rougher, and what we saw earlier in Sardinia is now happening along the beaches of eastern Sicily. In other words, the sea is advancing, beaches are disappearing, and water is pushing into coastal towns. This is what had happened, for example, in Fondachello, and similar conditions are being reported across the Messina area. Sorry if the wind is moving us around. Here is Santa Teresa di Riva. Part of the coastal road has collapsed, and a driver who was passing through the area unfortunately ended up inside the collapse. Thankfully, they appear to have escaped without serious injuries. As you can see, wind gusts are continuing to intensify. Conditions are particularly severe around Mount Etna, where overnight Italy's Guardia di Finanza rescued a Swiss family of tourists traveling with their 4-year-old daughter.
And now on a brighter note, let's move on to sports, first with ski. 7th in the first run, and now 1 week after her comeback following a devastating crash that kept her off the slopes for 292 days, Federica Brignone is back competing. She's competing the second run that is being played right now as we are speaking. A solid return to racing after the Tiger of Italy's national ski team, who raced this morning in the giant slalom at Plan de Corones in the Dolomites. I started out still, then it got better, she said. It was a good test. I want to rediscover my sensations. It is still too early to talk about the upcoming Milan Cortina Winter Olympics, where Brignone is expected to be Italy's flag bearer. I've already won, she said recently, referring simply to being back on the start line after her injury. When I returned to racing, I didn't even know if I would ever put skis back on. I don't feel I have anything to prove. To conclude, a look at soccer, where last night's rescheduled Serie A match, Lazio were swept aside 3-0 by Como at the Stadio Olimpico. Como, a real surprise of this season, now sits 6th in the standing and are closing in on Juventus. Tonight's attention shifts to the UEFA Champions League. Kicking off is at 9 p.m. local time, with FC Copenhagen vs Napoli and Inter hosting Arsenal.
This is all for today. Tune in tomorrow, same time, same channel. Catch up at www.RaiNews.it.